Parenting a teen with ADHD can feel like a race against time. You see the missing skills, organization, follow-through, planning, and you know that they need them all before adulthood. So today I'm going to show you 2 simple strategies that help ADHD teens develop executive functions faster. I'm Annie Adjen. I'm a certified ADHD coach. I help parents and their kids understand ADHD and manage it really well. The 2 techniques are we do and ask, don't tell. In education, there's a model called I do, we do, you do. It's also known as the gradual release of responsibility in pedagogy. I do, we do, you do is the natural way teachers and parents go about teaching kids, especially when they're really young. The parent first demonstrates the skill, I do. Then the parent and child practice together. That's the we do. And then once the child gains some mastery, then they start performing that skill independently, and that's the you do. I do, we do, you do. Think back to when your son or daughter was little and learning everything from you. This I do, we do together, and then you do alone process is likely how you've been intuitively parenting since your teenager was a toddler. Here are a couple of examples. Imagine that you're in the kitchen with your teen, showing them all the fundamentals of cooking. How to peel and cut vegetables safely, how to follow a recipe, and how to meal prep for the week ahead. If your teen knows their way around the kitchen already, it's because you took the we do approach to teaching them. They learned because you cooked and baked together, probably a lot. Skill taught together is now a skill learned. Another example is helping get your teen ready to drive. You take them to the DMV after helping them prepare the endless amount of necessary paperwork. You sit white-knuckled in the passenger seat while they're practicing their 30 hours of supervised driving. And then, after taking the driver's test, they finally pass and they get their license and you never see them again. They watched you drive for many years. I do. And then they drive with you. We do. And now you just watch them drive all by themselves on Life 360. I do, we do, you do. With we do, it's a skill taught and a skill learned. So what do these 2 scenarios have in common? They are developmental skills that we teach our adolescent children by practicing them together. We do together what we desire for them to be able to eventually do by themselves. First, you demonstrate cooking and driving. I do. Then you spend hours and hours in these activities together. We do. Way before you ever expect your son or daughter to make a meal or drive to school by themselves. This is how children learn almost all of their fundamental life skills. We model it, we practice it together, and gradually they take over and do for themselves. As you can guess, executive functioning skills are no different. In fact, the executive skills cannot be learned in a vacuum or learned after class in a special after-school program, or learned in a weekend workshop. The doing of life skills, which are referred to as executive functions, must be taught and learned at the point of performance. Point of performance simply means the moment the skill is needed in real life. That's the moment it must be taught and learned. And with the we do style, it's all possible. And that's why the we do rule of thumb for developing important skills in your teen's brain is the only way to go. However, as our kids enter the teen and young adult stages of development, and now it's time to teach them thinking skills, problem-solving skills, social skills, and executive functioning skills, parents make a big mistake. We tend to tell our kids what to do, what not to do, what not to forget. Grab this, get that, send that bill, make that doctor's appointment. ADHD teens do need a lot of reminders, but constant telling actually prevents the skill from developing. So do this instead. At the point of performance, that is the moment where they need to perform a skill, but ADHD makes it hard. Right then and there, scaffold them with a question instead of telling. In other words, ask, don't tell. Simply replace your telling and reminding with questions. Questions that help to prompt your teen to find the answer themselves without great effort. So instead of saying, don't forget your lunchbox, instead ask, what do you need to grab before you head out the door? Instead of reminding your college student to register for next semester's classes, you could ask, hey, what needs to happen for you to register for next semester's courses? If you ask a helpful question that directs them to find their own answer, They have engaged in one or many executive functions and are now a little closer to building that skill that they couldn't have built if you had simply told them what to do. Once they answer with, "Oh, I have to sign up online and set an advisor meeting," stay curious and compassionate, and then perhaps pose the next natural question, like, "Oh, great, when would you like to schedule that? Would you like any help scheduling that? How about a reminder? How about now or never so you can set it and forget it?" Back to our two earlier scenarios. When you and your teen are cooking up a storm in the kitchen and your teen is at the cutting board, you might ask, "How can you hold your hand on the onion to keep from cutting up a finger?" instead of telling them to curl them over while cutting. Ask, don't tell. And then if your son or daughter finds their own answer, now you'll know that it's a skill learned. And when you're driving with your teen and you come to a four-way stop intersection along with 3 other cars at the same time, ask your teen, "Hey, who do you think is going to get the right of way here?" Instead of telling them, "Car on the right goes first." Ask, don't tell, and then watch the learning and the confidence take hold. So tonight, when your teen is staring at their homework list at the kitchen table and looking totally overwhelmed, you might be tempted to say, "You need to start with your math since it's due tomorrow, and then history due Friday." But instead, ask, don't tell, and say something like, "Well, looking at everything you have tonight, which assignment do you think would be the best one to start with?" Now, your teen's brain has to step in and do the work. And it's sharpened the executive function skill called prioritization. And then you can follow up with another question like, "Well, how long do you think math will take tonight?" And that strengthens the executive function called time management. And then ask them, "Hey, let's use a couple of Pomodoro timers," which help strengthen the executive function of focus and attention. And the deeper learning happens because they generated the answer. If you had simply declared, "Start with math," the task might get done, but the executive function never had a chance to grow. So here's the big takeaway. When you replace telling with questions, you shift the cognitive work from your brain to your teen's brain, and that is exactly where the growth needs to happen. Every time your teen pauses to think through a question, what to do next, how long something's going to take, or what their plan should be next, they're practicing the very executive functions that ADHD delays. It may feel slower in the moment, but by using these two tools, we do and ask, don't tell, you're strengthening the very skills that your teen needs, not just to get through today, but to step confidently into adulthood. If you enjoyed this content and you'd like to see more, please press subscribe on YouTube. And if you're listening on a podcast app, hit the follow button. Keep calm and parent strong. And remember, I'm always in your corner, wishing you all A's in your every parenting endeavor.